Imagine stepping back nearly 2,000 years to ancient Rome, a time of grand spectacles, political intrigue, and emperors whose names would echo through history. Among them, one figure stands out, not only for his power but for his unorthodox passions. Nero, the infamous emperor, known for many things: cruelty, decadence, and, surprisingly, a love for performing on stage. But why would a man with ultimate authority risk ridicule and controversy simply to sing or play the lyre before his subjects? To understand, we must dive deeper into his world, his psyche, and the society that shaped him. From the moment he ascended to the throne at just 16, Nero's life was anything but ordinary. He was born into the Julio-Claudian dynasty, a lineage steeped in power and ruthlessness. His mother, Agrippina the Younger, was ambitious and cunning, determined to secure her son's position as emperor. And yet, despite the weight of political expectation, Nero was drawn to something entirely unconventional for a Roman ruler: the arts. He studied music, theater, and poetry with a fervor that was unusual for someone whose daily life was supposed to be consumed with governance, military strategy, and diplomacy. Imagine a teenage emperor rehearsing for hours, not for war, but for the stage, crafting melodies, perfecting his voice, and learning the art of performance. Here's an interesting thought. Nero's performances were not just vanity. In Rome, public appearances and spectacles were forms of political currency. Every gesture, every song, every moment under the public gaze was an opportunity to reinforce his image, assert dominance, and connect with the people. But it was a double-edged sword. Traditional Roman elites, the senators and aristocrats who believed in stoic restraint and dignity, saw such performances as scandalous, even unbecoming of an emperor. To them, Nero's actions were childish, almost barbaric. Yet, to the common people, these performances were mesmerizing. They offered entertainment, spectacle, and a glimpse of the man behind the emperor's mask, a man who could laugh, cry, and sing. Before we go further, if you're enjoying this dive into the mind of Nero and want more stories of ancient emperors' secret passions, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. You won't want to miss the next episode exploring the hidden lives of Rome's rulers. Nero's obsession with performance was also deeply personal. Historical accounts suggest he saw himself as a divine figure on stage, an artist whose talents were gifts from the gods. He didn't just want to perform. He wanted to dominate the artistic realm just as he had political power. It is said that he would insist on private performances for select audiences of influential citizens, often refusing to let anyone leave until he received applause. This wasn't merely narcissism. It was an assertion of control, a blending of art and authority that allowed him to rewrite the rules of what it meant to be emperor. But let's not ignore the darker side. Nero's insistence on public performances often clashed with the expectations of morality and decorum. Stories of spectators being forced to endure hours of song, of senators trapped in galleries, and of artists coerced into participation are rife in historical accounts. Here, we see a tension between personal desire and societal expectation, a theme that resonates even today. How far should one go in pursuit of passion when it risks alienating others? As the years progressed, Nero's performances became grander and more theatrical. He constructed elaborate stages, complete with intricate backdrops, and even attempted to blend Greek drama with Roman spectacle. Some historians argue that his stagecraft was revolutionary, a precursor to modern theatrical productions, blending storytelling, music, and political messaging into one seamless experience. Yet, others claim it was sheer indulgence, a reflection of a ruler increasingly disconnected from the practical realities of his empire. Interestingly, Nero's performances were not limited to Rome. He famously traveled, performing in cities across the empire, challenging norms wherever he went. This international exposure helped cultivate a unique celebrity-like status. People whispered about the emperor who dared to take the stage, the one whose music could enthrall both the poor and the powerful. It's fascinating to think about, The same man who issued edicts, led armies, and oversaw monumental architectural projects also sought the thrill of applause from common citizens, perhaps finding validation that politics alone could not provide. Here's a thought for anyone watching. What drives someone to risk everything for passion? In Nero's case, it seems to have been a mix of personal fulfillment, political strategy, and a desire for legacy. He was acutely aware that his image would be judged by history, and perhaps in his mind, the stage was as important as the throne. And speaking of diving deeper, if you want me to break down the most shocking public performances of Nero, leave a comment and subscribe. We're building a community of history enthusiasts who crave the untold stories of ancient rulers. You'll get exclusive insights, and I'll make sure to cover some of the most jaw-dropping performances that stunned Rome. As time went on, Nero's passion for performance increasingly overshadowed his political duties. Accounts suggest that major decisions were neglected, military campaigns faltered, and conspiracies brewed in the shadows of Rome. Yet his obsession with the arts also humanized him in ways that pure political maneuvering could not. We see a ruler who, despite immense power, was vulnerable to the same desires, ambitions, and insecurities that affect all humans. To understand Nero's performances, one must also consider the philosophical and cultural context of Rome. The Romans revered spectacle, gladiatorial games, chariot races, theatrical performances, but they also had strict ideas about honor, dignity, and leadership. By performing publicly, Nero simultaneously tapped into the cultural love for spectacle and violated the traditional codes of conduct expected of emperors. This duality created controversy, fascination, and ultimately, legend. Throughout history, the question remains, did Nero perform because he loved the arts, or because he craved adoration? Perhaps it was both. Perhaps it was an early form of celebrity culture, where public performance was a tool of influence, manipulation, and self-expression all at once. When we reflect on modern parallels, celebrities, politicians, influencers, it's striking how little has changed in the human desire for validation, applause, and the power of being witnessed. By the time of his infamous Great Fire of Rome, Nero's image as a performer was intertwined with his reputation as a ruler. Stories, possibly exaggerated, circulated of him singing while the city burned, a symbol of indulgence, detachment, and artistic obsession. Whether true or myth, this narrative cements the idea that performance was more than a hobby. It defined his identity and legacy in the eyes of history. And as we wrap up, I want to remind you to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications if you've been fascinated by Nero's story so far. There's so much more to uncover, and your support helps bring these historical narratives to life, making the hidden aspects of ancient Rome accessible and thrilling. Ultimately, Nero's story reminds us that leadership, passion, and human ambition are complex, intertwined forces. A ruler who performed on stage challenges our assumptions about power and artistry, showing that even the most powerful among us are driven by desires, fears, and dreams. His life is a cautionary tale and a testament to the enduring power of spectacle, creativity, and self-expression, echoing through the centuries to remind us that history is rarely black and white. So next time you watch a performance, a concert, or even a theatrical play, consider this. Somewhere in history, an emperor stood on a stage, daring to be seen, daring to be heard, and in doing so, leaving a legacy that still captivates us today.